On August 3rd, President Trump sounded confident. He said talks with Iran would begin, in his words, tomorrow afternoon, and that a deal was almost within reach. The terms he laid out were sweeping: the immediate and total reopening of the Strait of Hormuz and a complete end to Iran's nuclear threat. But from Tehran, the response was ice cold. Iran's acting defense minister dismissed Trump's sudden pullback as nothing more than psychological warfare, a war of calculations dressed up to look like peace. As far as Iran is concerned, the American threat is still very real, and on the ground, almost nothing has changed. The Strait of Hormuz remains effectively shut. Cargo ships sit stranded in northern waters, waiting for a green light from Iranian forces that never comes. Mediators from Qatar, Oman, Turkey, and Pakistan are scrambling to close the gap, but an earlier agreement collapsed within a month. So while Trump sells a deal that is close, Iran calls it a bluff. One side talks peace, the other prepares for war, and the world still cannot tell which one is telling the truth. While the missiles grab the headlines, another battle is playing out on trading floors around the world, and on August 3rd, it swung hard. The moment President Trump announced he was pulling back from strikes and opening talks with Iran, oil prices went into free fall. West Texas crude dropped more than 6% to about $79 a barrel. Brent slid over 5%. In Trump's own words, "We're talking to them in the form of a negotiation, and it begins tomorrow afternoon." That single sentence was enough. Investors who had braced for all-out war in the Gulf suddenly saw a way out, and they piled back in. Stock futures turned green after weeks in which oil had spiked to its highest level since 2024, and Wall Street suffered one of its worst runs of the entire war. It is a stunning reminder of how this conflict really works. A single post from the president can move the price of oil for the entire planet, erasing or creating billions in minutes. The missiles may fly over the Gulf, but the real shockwaves land on Wall Street. August 4th, 2026. President Trump is now making an extraordinary claim. He says the military strike he called off at the last minute would have been, in his own words, the biggest attack since World War II. According to Trump, Iran knew exactly how devastating it would be, and that fear is what pushed them to the negotiating table. He announced the talks would resume on August 3rd. There was just one problem. Iran said the talks were not happening at all. Tehran flatly denied that any negotiations had ever been agreed. Furious, Trump lashed out, calling Iran's leaders unbelievably duplicitous and accusing them of lying to the world's face. So which is it? A superpower showdown pulled back from the edge of catastrophe? Or a war of words where no one can agree on what is even real? Trump says he stopped the biggest attack in 80 years. Iran says there is nothing to stop and no deal to speak of. And as both sides trade accusations instead of missiles, the rest of the world is left guessing who, if anyone, is actually telling the truth. August 4th, 2026. Donald Trump's war with Iran has opened up another battle, this one inside his own movement. Some of the loudest voices in MAGA are now turning against him. Leading the revolt is Tucker Carlson, once one of Trump's biggest allies, who says the war is a betrayal of everything America First was supposed to stand for. He has even declared there is no future for the movement if it becomes the party of endless war. And he is not alone. Figures like Marjorie Taylor Greene, Megyn Kelly, and Candace Owens have all pushed back, warning Trump that he was elected to keep America out of foreign wars, not to drag it into new ones. Trump has fired back hard, mocking his critics and dismissing them as low IQ. But the cracks are real. For a president who built his entire brand on ending wars, the sight of his own base accusing him of starting one may be the most dangerous fight of all, because this time, the enemy is not overseas. It is coming from inside the tent. August 5th, 2026. After weeks on the brink of all-out war, President Trump now says peace could be just days away. He is hailing what he calls very good talks with Iran and claims a deal to reopen the Strait of Hormuz could be signed as soon as Wednesday or Thursday. Behind the scenes, Iran and Oman are said to be closing in on an agreement to finally let the ships move again. But there is a warning buried in the good news. The terms being discussed could hand Iran lasting control over a waterway that has always belonged to the entire world. And almost as fast as Trump raised hopes, Iran's own state media moved to crush them, signaling that no breakthrough is anywhere near as close as Washington claims. So who do you believe? An American president promising a deal within days, or an Iranian government that will not even admit the two sides are talking? One of them is not telling the truth, and the whole world is about to find out which. August 5th, 2026. While President Trump talks peace, Iran is talking blood. Even as Washington hails progress toward a deal, a senior Iranian commander is now boasting that his forces have killed hundreds of American soldiers in the fighting so far. The United States flatly denies it. But the message from Tehran is unmistakable. Iran is not backing down, and it is not afraid. On the ground, the standoff is strangling one of the world's most vital trade routes. Roughly 6,000 sailors are still trapped aboard ships in the Gulf, unable to move, held hostage by a conflict they had nothing to do with. Iran still controls the Strait of Hormuz, and it is making sure the world knows it. So while the headlines speak of deals and diplomacy, the reality on the water tells a darker story. This is not a war that is winding down. It is a war where one side is bragging about the bodies, and real peace still feels very far away. Today is Thursday, August 6th, 2026. After months of missiles, blockades, and threats of a wider war, the guns may finally be about to fall silent. Today, Iran signaled that the United States is ready to return to its commitments, and President Trump says a deal to end the war could now be just days away. The framework on the table is sweeping, a 60-day ceasefire on every front, the reopening of the Strait of Hormuz, the oil lifeline that Iran had choked shut. And in return, Tehran would see billions in frozen assets unlocked and crushing sanctions eased, alongside fresh talks over its nuclear program. For a region that stood on the edge of all-out war just days ago, it is a stunning turn. But nothing is signed yet, and both sides have walked away before. The strait is not fully open, the missiles have not been put away, and the very details that killed the last deal are still unresolved. So the world watches and hopes that this time the handshake actually holds, because the alternative is a war that no one can afford. Today is Thursday, August 6th, 2026. As President Trump races toward a deal to end the war with Iran, there is one so-called winner who is not celebrating at all: Israel. For months, Israel stood on the front line, treating Iran as a threat to its very survival. Now, with Washington and the Gulf states closing in on an agreement, the Israelis are watching from the sidelines, cut out of the very deal that will redraw their region. The Gulf powers, Saudi Arabia and the Emirates, stand to gain billions and reopen the flow of oil. Iran wins sanctions relief and its frozen fortunes unlocked. And Israel? It gets a peace it never asked for, on terms it never chose. Prime Minister Netanyahu is now scrambling to save face, insisting the war already achieved its main goals. But at home, many Israelis feel betrayed, furious that their closest ally cut a deal with their greatest enemy and left them out of the room. In geopolitics, every deal has a loser. This time, it may be the one nation that was certain it was winning. Today is Friday, August 7th, 2026. The American economy just flashed a warning sign that almost no one saw coming. According to a new government report released today, the United States did not just slow down in July. It went backwards, losing 23,000 jobs in a single month. For a labor market that had looked rock solid, it is a stunning reversal, the first real crack in the country's economic armor. And here is the strange part. When the news broke, Wall Street did not panic. It rallied. Investors are now betting that a weakening economy will force the Federal Reserve to finally cut interest rates, pumping cheap money back into the markets. But that leaves the Fed trapped. Prices are still rising, driven in part by the war with Iran, yet the job market is suddenly stumbling. Cut rates and inflation could roar back. Hold them, and the slowdown gets worse. For millions of American workers, though, the headline is simple and scary. The jobs are starting to disappear, and no one is sure where the bottom is. Today is Friday, August 7th, 2026. While the world watched America and Iran trade blows, three powerful nations quietly rewrote the map of the Middle East. Today, in the holy city of Mecca, Saudi Arabia, Turkey, and Pakistan signed a stunning military pact. The wording is blunt, and it is huge. An armed attack against any one of the three will now be treated as an attack against all of them. Think about what that means. Turkey brings the second-largest army in NATO. Saudi Arabia brings almost unlimited money. And Pakistan brings the one thing no other Muslim nation has: nuclear weapons. In a single signature, a new power bloc was born, one that does not need to ask Washington for permission. Officially, the leaders call the deal defensive, aimed at no one in particular. But no one is fooled by the timing. It lands right in the middle of America's war with Iran, as Gulf states watch the fighting on their doorstep and quietly lose faith that the United States will protect them. This is the real story. For decades, the Middle East ran on American security guarantees. Now, three of the region's heavyweights are building their own umbrella with a nuclear shield underneath it. Washington may have been busy fighting Iran, but today it may have watched its grip on the entire region start to slip. Today is Saturday, August 8th, 2026. Donald Trump just did something no modern president has dared to try. He has signed 2 executive orders taking direct aim at birthright citizenship, the rule that says almost anyone born on American soil is automatically an American. With a stroke of his pen, Trump moved to slam that door shut on entire groups of people. His advisor, Stephen Miller, says the orders target alien enemies of the United States, members of foreign terrorist organizations, and people working on behalf of foreign governments. A second order goes straight after birth tourism, families flying into America just to give birth to a citizen child. But here is the explosive part. Birthright citizenship is not just some policy. It is written into the 14th Amendment of the Constitution, and only months ago, the Supreme Court struck down Trump's first attempt to kill it. He is doing it anyway. The ACLU fired back. Birthright citizenship is guaranteed by the Constitution, and no executive order can change that. Make no mistake, this is a president openly testing how far his power can go, daring the courts to stop him, and they almost certainly will try. The fight over who gets to be called an American just exploded wide open. Today is Saturday, August 8th, 2026. The man who once told America how to survive a pandemic is now staring down a criminal referral. A United States Senate committee has voted to hold Dr. Anthony Fauci in contempt of Congress, a stunning fall for one of the most powerful health officials in the country's history. The trigger? At a hearing in late July, Fauci refused to talk. Over and over, he invoked his Fifth Amendment right, staying silent on the government's COVID-19 response. Senator Rand Paul, who has chased Fauci for years, ran the vote and did not hold back. The chair directed Anthony Fauci to answer. He refused. That is what we are voting on today. Paul had already dumped more than 1,000 pages of Fauci's private diary into public view, claiming they exposed secret doubts about where the virus really came from. Fauci denies it, and his lawyer blasted the vote as a crude political stunt to punish him for using his constitutional rights. Now the case barrels toward the Justice Department, though it still needs a wall of Senate votes to bite. Either way, the once untouchable face of the pandemic has never looked more vulnerable.